Hey folks, Keith McGowan here. I am the Outboard Dad, and this video is brought to you by the Ansel MR500, the diagnostic tool for Yamaha outboards, especially your 4-strokes from 2002 and newer. It also do some watercraft, some personal watercrafts as well. So here's the exciting part. They're coming out with a Mercury version. You know I got a couple of Mercuries here. You know I've worked on a bunch of Mercuries, and I have a Mercury tool to compare the operation of that, which is a little old school, compared to something like this that's bringing us into the 21st century. I guess that's where we are now. And we're going to do it and check it out and see what it does and how it works. Just like a mechanic would or a DIY would, open a box. As you see here, if you can read that screen, I haven't even set this up yet. And we're going to learn how this works. So click on the link in the description and find out more about the Ansel MR500, which is what this video is brought to you by today. So we got all the bolts off. We got all the Allen bolts off. We got all the nuts off. Sometimes the nut stays on the stud and the whole stud comes out. I think these are ready to come off completely. Sometimes you have to give them a little tap-tap-a-roo. The gaskets are a little stuck, but I think everything's going to come off in one shot is what I'm hoping for. And what am I still attached to? There's just a hose here. It comes over from the primer. No, that's from, oh, it goes from primer carburetor to carburetor, so I need a pair of needle nose to get that off as I drop wrenches. Let me pull it off of this side. And now we should be able to pull them all off. Fuel line is there, and now we got a nice set of carbs. I'm going to leave them set up just like this and put them in a box. So now we can kind of look inside. I think what we'll do next is we'll pull off this reed plate just because I'm curious to see what it looks like inside where that rod came out. So I'm going to pull all these bolts off of the reed plate and then we'll take a look inside. Okay, I'm kind of anxious to see what this destroyed motor looks like inside here. Let's see, did I get them all out? Oh boy. So we got one hose here I'm just going to cut. Interesting. So bottom reed plates actually look pretty nice. Very clean. Just all little bits of aluminum everywhere. But yeah, this has had a little difficulty in here, huh? So it looks like it's that top cylinder that it let loose, that connecting rod or that wrist pin was, you know, basically gone out of the piston, broke through the piston. And then we have bits in the next cylinder down, and I can see boy, it's really, really funky. I'm going to get you in a little closer so you can see some of the damage in here, and then we'll clean up. Okay, so let's take a peek. So as you know, that top cylinder, as you can see that bend in that connecting rod right inside there. And then the next one is still there, and it probably moves. It just has all the little pieces got in there from the piston. So I don't know what that back of that one looks like, but the rest of them actually looks pretty clean inside, the rest of them. Pretty funny. So I think what we'll do next is we'll kick this motor up, and then we'll go ahead and disconnect the battery and the battery cables from it, because we're going to disconnect all the rest of the electrical stuff. So let me get the motor kicked up and disconnect the electrical, and then we'll take all the electrical off of this, all the charging areas and the ignition switch connection. I think it's 8-pin connection. And we know that works because I was able to crank the key, and of course the starter motor, as you saw, was just spinning. So at least we did some tests. And then we'll get the stator off and we'll separate all that and put it up for sale. So if you've watched any of my videos, I like to keep things simple. And I'm going to see if there's anything strapping this to the block. I think there's a ground wire up here I'm going to disconnect and see what else is connected here. And then I'm going to try and take this whole plate off and get everything all at once. My trim switch. I'm going to disconnect my trim wires here, unplug them, so that everything can come right off of this in one shot, and then it makes it a lot easier for the next person who's going to use it. This way I'm not separating all the starter solenoid and the power tilt and trim solenoids and my regulators. I'm not separating all that stuff. I'm going to keep it all together in one shot. So because the stator is kind of heavy to carry separately and I don't want the wires to get yanked on, I went ahead and pulled that off. Now it does look like it might have got a little warm, but nothing looks melted, maybe a little, dark, but should be functioning. Disconnected, the wires look good. So, stator. Also, there is a shift switch here, so I figured I'd just leave it connected with the linkage and everything. And now I think we're ready to go. If we take the rest of these bolts off of this plate, that this will all come right off of here. Theoretically speaking. You drop it down in the cowl and you don't want to take the time to take the whole side cowlings off. All right, let's see if there's anything else still attached. Oh, grounds. You do need to get the grounds off the block. Silly. I think we got it, by George. All right. So now we got a whole assembly for somebody. Power tilt and trim, starter relay, has our voltage regulators, dual voltage regulators on it, ignition wiring harness, some fuses up here, and everything looks in good shape. So this will be up for sale. Okay, so what to do next? We spent a lot of time on this motor and it's unable to be rebuilt and sold. So was it worth it? I guess beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I don't know. But we got the lower unit off. The only thing that's left is that power tilt and trim. Our lower unit's been draining over there, so we'll give that a pressure test. And then maybe we'll look at and do a quick class on how to replace those seals on that Mercury. Now, I'll be up front. I've never had to do one of those Mercury seals on this model motor. So it'll be an adventure for me as well. I'll do a little bit of research. But I think for now, I don't see any value in taking the rest of this apart, trying to get the block off. I think I'm going to scrap it just the way it is. We do have a poppet valve here. Let's pull that off. A little stuck maybe. Yeah, just a little. Silly Willy. No, poppet valve doesn't look bad. It has the grommet in there. I'm going to go ahead and save this because someone may need it. So that's about it for this motor. I don't think there's anything else worth saving. We'll get that power tilt and trim out of there in our next episode, and then we'll work on those seals and pressure test that lower unit. So please like, subscribe, send me any comments that you have, and we look forward to seeing you out on the water. Have a great day.